go-to platform for highlighting the stories and voices that inspire action and excellence. I'm your host, Captain Manuel Calo, and today we have an incredible special guest whose leadership journey spans the Air Force Reserve Command, law enforcement, and global entrepreneurship. Our guest is none other than Ericka E.
Recording in
Kelly, the
progress.
founder and CEO of Ericka Kelly Enterprises, and best-selling author, professional speaker, and a woman who has dedicated her life to empowering leaders worldwide. Before we dive in, here's a quick disclaimer. The views expressed in this podcast are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect official policies or position of the Department of Defense or any of the agencies. Without further ado, I want to present Miss Ericka to the podcast.
Hello, hello.
So, how
Thank
you
you,
doing
Captain,
today,
for
Ericka? Welcome.
thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's pretty incredible. Appreciate you.
Thank you for being here tonight. And again, on behalf of ANSO and Coral Mountain Band, welcome to the ANSO Podcast. So let's start. With you. So, Ericka, you have such incredible journey from growing up in Guatemala to leading a global scale. Can you share it was like transitioning to the United States at just 12 years old?
Mhm. Well, the journey to coming to the United States was interesting, but not unique. If I can say interesting and unique, maybe for me, but how many people have not come to the United States as immigrants throughout the history of this amazing country? I was in Guatemala, survived and lived in extreme poverty, and a mother, and I say a mother because a mother that had abandoned me and my two brothers when I was 5 years old, at the age of 12, came back. And she came back because of an earthquake that, again, we all survived, but it destroyed most of the country. And that historical point is what made her go back, see the conditions that we lived in, and decide. She made a command decision, and she decided to bring us to the United States, not by boat, not by plane, but by walking. So we walked,
Wow.
Captain, 1,500 miles to get to America or the United States.
Wow, that's amazing story to hear. So, what you can remember of that walking? I bet it's gonna be like a lot of dangers, and I mean like long walks, and you have to actually stop to for refit and continue your journey. Can you talk to about that journey?
Yes, sir. It was hard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we had nothing, not even a suitcase. Uh, we had nothing. We had what we had on. And I remember walking for as long as we could. I remember begging. We didn't have chiclets to sell. We were literally begging for food. We were begging for a little bit of money in order for us to eat that day. Most of the time, we slept on the side of the road. Sometimes, and this is where humanity comes into play throughout my life, is the generosity
Mm-hmm.
of the humans some of the humans that we encounter, where they were poor themselves and they would split their tortillas, they would
Wow.
share their little beans with us so we could survive. We also, like, and you mentioned it, thank you for saying that, because people sometimes don't understand how dangerous it is. And it was a mother with three kids walking. It wasn't thousands of people. It was
Mm-hmm.
just the four of us walking. And yes, we face a lot of cruel people, but we also faced the generosity of many.
No, that's a great story to share with us, Erica. Appreciate it. And again, we can hear through your story how difficult was like that journey coming to the U.S. Now, once you transition to the U.S., How was that for you? Like a new life, for you, your family. So how was that journey then once you came to the United States?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, yes, we were immigrants, so the language was the
Mm-hmm.
language was new.
Always the language, right?
But
Mm-hmm.
but something else outside of the language.
Mm-hmm.
Culturally, we were, and I don't mean that. The word that I'm going to use, the word primitive, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
using it to put myself down on my brothers,
Mm-hmm.
but we were so primitive, Captain.
Mm-hmm.
We did not even truly understand what electricity was.
Wow.
So we would play with the light switch back and forth just to see the light come on and
Mm-hmm.
off, and we thought it was magic
Wow.
because we never experienced that where we lived. Uh, Indoor plumbing, just the fact, and sometimes I think about it, right? The fact of having a door
Mm-hmm.
was magic. Like a
Wow.
doorknob was magic.
Yeah.
Locking the door was magic. So it wasn't just that we were immigrants to the United States, it was that everything was different and we needed to assimilate to a new world.
Yeah, no, as simple as a doorknob, you know what I mean? Like we,
Yes.
can say like you can grow it up. And that reminds me, my nephews, like they came from to the United States like a couple months ago, first time. They're always been overseas with the Air Force, and they grew up in Germany. And once they transitioned from Germany to here to the United States, yeah, simple stuff. I was like watching to them, and they're like, it was like a magic to them. Like, oh my god, we never seen this before, and
Yes.
makes their mind blown. And I
Yes.
bet like it happens to you and your family once they transition to the United States. So now the language is one of the things and barriers, right? So coming out to the United States, you have to learn a new language, new culture, and why not? So how then was the transition going to school, and then when do you start like in getting interesting on joining the armed forces?
The law enforcement side of the
Mm.
house was a little bit, law enforcement
Mm.
side of the house was a little bit interesting, but military,
Military. Mm.
the military attracted me from minute one that I started learning a little bit about the United States.
Mm.
I'll give you a quick
Mm.
example. Growing up, I'm sure that things are different now, but growing up in poor areas of the capital city of Guatemala, I was exposed to a lot of military, a lot of soldiers. And the discretion that those soldiers have over some of their citizens, it was alarming, meaning that instead of feeling safe with a military component of the military, I didn't as a child. It was different in the United States. So when I learned the military defense, the military protects, the military serves,
Mm.
I was in. So even at the age of 12,
Mm.
it was the seed was in
Right.
here that I wanted to do something in the military. I didn't know what and I didn't know how, but the seed was inside me, and that was a driving force for me to educate myself
Mm.
and to assimilate to this American culture by learning English. I can tell you that where I grew up,
Mm.
we came to California first, and we came to Compton. And I don't know if the audience is familiar with Compton, but Compton in the late 70s uh, was the Compton that maybe we watch on
On
TV once
TV,
in a
yeah,
while,
on the
right?
TV, yeah, like
So
the very poor neighborhood.
it was
Yeah,
not a passive. It was you had to fight
fight.
for
You have to fight
territory in
yourself. Hmm.
Compton. So then I realized if I'm gonna get, and forgive me for saying this, but this is what I told myself.
Hmm.
Right? If I'm gonna get out of this hole,
Hmm.
uh, I refuse to stay here.
Right.
So literally at 12 years old, I'm making a lot of huge decisions
Hmm.
for my life in the future. I'm telling myself, I am not going to stay in this present conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for me to get out of this hole, I need to do two things. I need to go to school and I need to learn the language. And those were my two anchors at the beginning
Mm-hmm.
to just get traction in this country and move forward. But I'm telling you, English continues to be hard. There's a lot of words I can't
Mm-hmm.
say, a lot of words I can't pronounce, a lot of things I say backwards, but it is what it
It
is,
is.
right? I just think that each day, maybe I get better when it comes to the language,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something that helped me make distance from the very toxic environments that I was in.
No, no, that's for sure. Like that's great to hear again. Like you're like, no, I'm not gonna stay in this foxhole. I need to look, to my for my future, and that's why you wanted to actually get to the school and get to the military side of the house, and we see that you have that seed already implemented on you. So how was it now? So when did you start actually join the military? So you like start going to school, went to high school, learn the language, and then how was that transition for you?
Yes. So in the transition from making those awesome, I call them awesome decisions when
Mm-hmm.
I'm 12 of um of what I'm gonna do with my life, a lot of things happened because I was still in that toxic environment. I was still surrounded by people that possibly had good intentions, but they didn't have the awareness of abundance. They didn't have the awareness of a future. They didn't have an aware. They just wanted to stay in a safe place. And
Mm-hmm.
I think I have always been a risk taker. Like, why not? Try this, try that. So this is what happened to me, Captain. And so I'll say it very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
My mom, who abandoned me, came back to get us, brought us over here, continued to not be the best mom ever. Mm. So me wanting to go to school, me wanting to learn English, to her, what did not make sense. I am a Hispanic female that needs to possibly at the age of 16 go to work because somehow, somewhere, I'm going to find a man that's going to take care of me. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
have kids. And that's the picture that she had of me and the job that she wanted me to have for the rest of my life was to be a maid to and we moved from Compton to Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
So now at the age of 16, 15, 16, my mom is telling me that I need to quit school
Mm-hmm.
so I can be a full-time employee
Mm-hmm.
because school is not important for a girl.
Wow.
Now, this is not a criticism to my mom, it's
Mm-hmm.
just a fact of her
What
level of
happened?
awareness
Mm-hmm.
where she couldn't see past me being a maid
Mm-hmm.
in one of the hotels in Las Vegas. That's the biggest future that she could see for me. So when I started dreaming and sharing my dream with my mom, saying, what about if I go to school and have a career and instead of cleaning a room, I stay in a room,
Mm-hmm.
she couldn't see that. So at
Wow.
the age of 16, she kicks me out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So at the age of 16, I see myself I mean, now I look back and I'm like, wow. But 16, homeless in the streets of Las Vegas. Thank God I had a friend from work because I was working
Mm-hmm.
that took me in. But that was the beginning, Captain, of me getting into a horrific, underlying horrific relationship with a man. I was 16, he was 32.
Oh wow.
And I mean, I didn't see, remember, I come from a toxic
Yeah.
environment.
So
So
that's why you know like what that's where you're coming from, like very toxic
that is
environment,
right.
and that's you didn't know where you were doing right or wrong at that point.
That is so right. So here I am,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have people around me that go, "Hey, Ericka, that's a wrong choice."
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up, Captain, at the age of 20, marrying this gentleman that beat me
Oh.
from the neck down almost every day. And I saw it as normal. I saw it as I asked for it. I guess I deserve it. I wasn't a victim of domestic violence
Mm-hmm.
suffering. I wasn't. I accepted it as part of life because I did not have good role models and I did not know the difference. And not until that situation with that husband escalated to uh, my life being in danger did I, mind you, that seed of I want to be in the military, I want to be in the military, I want to be in the military was inside me. It's just that life kept closing doors
Right.
and life kept putting obstacles in front of me. But I remember a police officer pretty much saving my life from one of the beatings
Mm.
and telling me, Ericka, if you don't do something to save your life, we are going to find your dead body in the deserts or the desert of Nevada.
Mm.
And that was a wake up call because no one said that I had a choice ever. He said, if you don't do something, and I'm like, what do you mean if I don't do something? And then something clicked.
Mm.
And that's when I said, I have a choice. And it was so empowering. I have a choice. And I went back to that 12-year-old that said, I'm not going to stay in this condition. I went back to what I told myself when I was 12. And I made a decision. And I went to the Air Force. Well, first I went to the Marines,
Mm-hmm.
but then I went to the Air Force.
So I went to the Marine Corps first, and then
Yeah,
decided
I
to be
wanted
Air
to
Force.
be a Marine again because I wanted so desperately to belong to uh, something powerful, something that gave me strength.
Yeah, the force and the strength. Yeah.
Mm. And I took the test. The Air Force said yes, and that was the first baby steps for Ericka Kelly that was broken in 1,000 pieces for me to hear, yes, you're worthy, yes, you're valuable, yes, we want you, yes, you have a future, yes, we accept you. And my first night in basic training, when the it's chaos, right? The
Yes.
scream. I hear some of
The
the
drill
I hear some
sergeants
of
and everything. Like, what's
Oh, I
going
mean,
on?
I don't think it matters what branch, right? The first night is always the first night.
Right.
But I hear some of the ladies, right? Little tears here and there. And I'm not. I mean, okay, this is the truth. Tears were rolling down, but not because I was fearful, not because the military training instructors were scary. The MTIs were not scary, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, it was because that was the first night in many, many years that I was going to be safe. So all that noise, all that chaos, I was able to quiet it down and just be grateful. And again, just like 12, just like 22, I was 22, Captain, when I went into the Air Force.
Air Force.
And I'm making life decisions, right? That night I made a promise. And the promise was to the Air Force. And I promised the Air Force that I was going to give them my best. And I promised the Air Force that they would never be embarrassed of selecting me as one of their own. That was my first night. And I lived, right? Not perfect, but I think I lived that promise for 32 and a half years.
Wow. No, it's all about greatness after you actually decide to take the baby steps and you realize like I'm belonging to something like greater. That's basically what you were saying, right? You wanted to belong to something like that's the first thing because we see in the Marine Corps like okay, this is the strongest military ever. You know what I mean? This is, and I think that was going to your going to your mind. That's what happened, and then until obviously you go to the Air Force, and then now you belong to them. And then now you went to basic training, realized, and then you had a great career throughout. And we're gonna talk about that in a moment. But now this story proved that no matter where you start, you have the potential to achieve greatness, right? So, what would you
Yes,
say
sir.
is the key mindset on what got you to where you are here today?
I think that is having what you desire right in front of you. Having what you desire right in front of you and understanding that what you want has a price. What you want has a price. And that means that you're going to have to, every time you're knocked down, you're going to, not somebody else, you are going to have to get up. And then one, two baby steps. And then something is going to knock you down again. And you know what? It hurts. And you're going to have to just maybe ground yourself a little bit, regroup yourself a little bit. But at the end of the day, you're getting up again, you're readjusting. You're not going to stay on the X. Don't stay on the X. You move, readjust, regroup, move forward, move forward, move forward. And then so bottom line is you being persistent. Bottom line is you being consistent with your values and how you're going to move forward, and understand that if you want what you desire, there is a price for it and you have to be willing to pay for it.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a great mentorship for those who are listening right now. Thank you, Ericka, to share with us. Now, let's talk about your role as the 17th Command Chief Master Sergeant for the Air Force Reserve Command.
Woo, woo.
You mentored and supported over 74,000 airmen. That's a huge, incredible. That's very incredible to hear. What was the most challenging part of leading at a such high level now?
The challenging part was getting myself out of the way,
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't Erica Kelly or Chief Kelly in the room. Sometimes in those very exclusive rooms, executive rooms, for military leadership, sometimes I was the only female.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I was the only enlisted. And Erica Kelly needed to get out of the way. And when I say Erica Kelly, I mean the 5-year-old that was eating ants and dirt in Central America, the 12-year-old that was afraid because she was going to get beat up in Compton, the 16-year-old that was cold as she's trying to survive as a homeless teenager, the 22-year-old that is looking at saving her life from someone that's supposed to be protecting her. That Erica Kelly needed to stay out of the room, and the leader needed to be in. The representative of 74, sometimes 76,000,
Mm-hmm.
airmen, that included officers, included enlisted, included civilian employees, needed to be in the room. So I was a representative. It wasn't just one. I was representing 74,000. I wasn't just representing myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I bet in being at such high level, it takes challenge and takes courage and also take leadership, right? Because sometimes, like I said, it's great to hear that sometimes you have to put yourself to the side and make sure you are like accomplishing something bigger, which in this case, what mission is about to be accomplished in this high level of leadership. That's a huge accomplishment right there, Ericka. That's great to hear. And then a following question: what advice would you give to young leaders, especially those in the military, who aspire to make a lasting impact like you have in your career?
Wow, that's an interesting question. Well, first, let me say that I never planned.
Mm,
I only planned to be better tomorrow. And if today was my best day, I was gonna make tomorrow better than today.
mm,
But I never planned. In the Air Force, the rank of E9 in the Air Force, 1% of the enlisted force makes it to E9.
mm,
So that's pretty awesome.
yeah.
Now, maybe 1% of that 1% makes it to command chief.
Mm,
And so that's pretty awesome.
it is awesome.
And then for me to then uh, be the 1% of the 1% of the 1% and being the top enlisted
Mm,
for a whole component of the Air Force is, and I'm not saying it to brag, I'm
mm,
saying it because I want people to see the the possibilities. I want people to see the miracle. I want
right.
people to see the Holy Mother of God,
Mm,
right? Because if you would have seen me in all those pieces of my life, Captain, all those pieces of my life, if you would have seen me, you would have said, she's not going to amount to anything.
mm,
You would have not predicted anything. But if you would have seen me in uniform, if you would have seen me deployed, if you would have seen me working with the Marines, the Marine Counterintel in Somalia, if you would have seen me working with the Army EOD, if you would have seen me, then you would have said, oh my gosh, Ericka has something. Because again, remember, uh, from us, and I'm going to say us enlisted, right? From us enlisted, we got to prove ourselves, and someone needs to go, she has potential, and give us an opportunity. Because I wouldn't be here with you. I wouldn't be in this podcast.
mm,
I wouldn't be bragging about or highlighting, I should say, my military career
mm,
if incredible women and men did not give me a chance because I didn't look like them. I didn't think like them. And those leaders at the time took a chance on giving me an opportunity for me to then go in the door, prove myself, excel, move forward, and still be an example to myself and an example to others.
mm,
So your question was about what would be my advice to a young leader.
mm,
And my advice is to walk each step. Don't try to skip the experience. I don't know how many times I was asked, right? I want to be a chief. Fantastic. But it's a journey, and each chapter of that journey makes you this strong person, right? Person first, the strong person first, then the leader, then the rank, then everything else. Because being in the military, and I know that maybe it's going to sound weird, but being in the military and you being the best you can be has nothing to do with rank, has nothing to do with position, has nothing to do with title. It has to do with you being the best person you can be in that moment. So enjoy the journey, do what you need to do, and be prepared when the door opens and says, hey, are you ready? You can say, I got the ticket, I'm ready. Now, if the door opens and you're like, oh, I haven't done this and I haven't done that and I'm missing this, then don't be surprised if someone else gets the opportunity.
mm. Most definitely. Appreciate it, Erika. Like most definitely, like you have to take the opportunity. Don't waste it. I mean, if that doors opens, you know, you go for it and run for it. I mean, that's best advice. Now, we talk about the military career, but let's talk about now your distinguished 27 years career in law enforcement,
Yeah.
working as a criminal investigator. How did that experience shape your approach to leadership and decision making?
Yes, it's interesting that my 32 and a half years with the Air Force were um, back and forth
Mm-hmm.
active duty and reserve time,
Mm-hmm.
which allowed me to have that secondary career. Because
Okay.
sometimes people go, "How old are you?" Right? You know, 32 years in the Air Force, and now you're
Plus
telling me
27
27. Well, it kind of happened at the same
at the
time,
same time.
everyone.
Mm.
But my years in law enforcement were pretty amazing. I got a chance to work as a criminal investigator. I got a chance to work a lot of human smuggling cases, a lot of human trafficking cases, some
Mm-hmm.
white collar investigations, be part of different task forces with different agencies. So did some cases with ATF, DEA, FBI, some local agencies. So it was pretty incredible. And I'm a mom of two, and sometimes my sons would ask, we will be watching a show, law enforcement show.
CSI.
Oh, yeah, they're like, does
CSI.
that really happen? And I'm like, yes, it does happen. And they're like, really? And I go, yes, but in 2, 3 years, not in 40 minutes, right? So yeah, so my career as an agent was pretty awesome. I'm not saying perfect. I'm not saying the military was perfect either.
Mm-hmm.
And why do I say not perfect?
Right.
At the end of the day, my friend, I am a small frame female, and the two worlds that I chose to live in, to participate, to add value in, are male dominated.
Mm-hmm.
So both worlds uh, expected expected me to carry my weight. And thank God, maybe not now, but then I was pretty fit. I power lifted for a few years. Um, in my law enforcement career, I was a what it's called a non-lethal weapon instructor. So I was a baton instructor, the
Okay.
red man, um, the bean bags, anything that you can think of before pulling your weapon and pulling a trigger.
Do you still have your baton around you?
I turned it in, but I still know how to do it.
You still have to. Yeah,
I
that's
still know how
great.
to do
You still have
it.
to do it. That's crazy. That's good. That's good
Yeah.
to hear. Now, let's pivot your current role as the founder and CEO of Ericka Kelly Enterprises. You're
Yeah.
helping leaders across industry become better communicators and build trust. What inspired you to start this venture?
Um, Captain, I think that if I really look at it, I
Mm-hmm.
am doing what I have always done. So, uh, for me, life is about taking care of people. And being a coach, being a business owner now, I get to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I get to still help people. And it was a beautiful transition. I mean, I know that it sounds like as an entrepreneur, it's a transition from the military. It is, my friends, because as a command chief of a major command in the Air Force, I thought, what am I going to do
Mm-hmm.
after the uniform comes off? What am I going to do? And the forgive me for saying this, but the uniform is the uniform. But what's my essence? My essence is to take care of people. So as a coach, as a mentor, as a consultant, as a trainer for leadership, I'm still taking care of people. So that's the most simple way of me sharing with you that in my business, I I share my experiences of deployments. I share my
Mm-hmm.
experiences of arresting a bad guy. I share my experiences of being a female executive, of being a someone that didn't speak the language and struggle with her own uh, where do I fit in this big world, right? And I also know what poverty feels like, what desperation feels like, what hopelessness feels like.
Mm-hmm.
So when I have um, women that say I'm going through this, then for me is a nice bridge, not because I'm telling them what they need to do to get out of the situation, but it's a nice bridge, human bridge of me understanding when I am coaching an executive that has a team of individuals that he or she is not connecting with because of personality conflicts, then my executive experience comes in. So I am just grateful, really, that I get to do what I do.
No, most definitely. I mean, you can transfer your experiences for many years, and then like transmit for when you go to this leadership talks and talk about leadership and transmit that in your books. And we'll talk that in a minute. You have many books as well that you've seen in your in your company. No, but let me ask you this question. So, what's the number one challenge you see leaders face today, and how can they overcome that challenge?
Yeah, at least from my
Mm-hmm.
experience as an executive coach, the the biggest obstacle that I see some of the leaders um, face is how they disconnect from the individuals that might be doing the work. And I say the disconnect because the higher you go up in this invisible pyramid, but it does exist, then the less people um, are around you, and those less people, if you're not careful on who your inner circle is, those are the individuals that are advising you, and those are the individuals that, if we are not careful, we start seeing the world through. So see how and then we're not seeing the world from our perspective. We're not seeing the world from our eyes. We start seeing the world from the advisor's perspective. So if I was to advise a leader, is to, of course, have that inner circle, of course, listen to your advisors,
Mm-hmm.
but you need to push that desk away. You need to go, thank you so much for your perspective, and then go. If you're up here, go down a few levels if you need to. Get to where you need to listen to someone else's perspective and ask them, what am I missing? What am I not seeing? Because then you can go up. And in those executive meetings, when an advisor says something, then you have the knowledge and the intellect to say, some people are looking at this issue, whatever it is, differently. So let's look at it differently. So it's I guess the biggest thing that I see in leadership is because we're so busy,
Mm-hmm.
we listen to the closest people, and sometimes the closest people to us don't have all the answers or the facts.
Right. So sometimes I have to look down and look for the actual people. In our case, if you can translate this for the military, so I'm an officer, right? So often I have to go down to my soldiers, my E4s and my E3s, and see what's going on. Because at the end of the day, they're the ones who make the mission, right? So I'm just the vessel, I'm the leader, I'm just to make decisions. But at the end of the day, if I don't have soldiers, the mission's not gonna be accomplished. And sometimes we have to actually take a moment back, step back and say like, okay, so if something's not functioning, like my company, whatever the case may be, then I had to look for to my soldiers and see how they thinking and what's going on out here. That's what I hear from basically your experiences.
No, absolutely. It's a way of, you as a captain, you as an officer, your inner circle of advisors, they're gonna, because they understand you, they know where you're going,
Mm-hmm.
they see the vision, they see your vision. So when you share something with them, they're gonna go, yep, because
Mm-hmm.
they get it, not because they're lying, they get it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying is that E2, E3 is not gonna get it.
Mm-hmm.
And when they get the message and it's filtered multiple
Mm-hmm.
times,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to go, that captain has two heads. What is he doing? What is he thinking?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Unless there's clarity in the message. And sometimes the clarity comes from you,
Mm-hmm.
comes from the leader saying, this is, and I know that it takes time. And I know that there's sometimes, or we don't have the time to explain. But if the leader has the time to explain, why not say, this is what we're going to do. This is the reason why, and I'm here to answer your questions. And at least respect that
Right.
of the people that are part of your team.
No, and most definitely. Where would you see or say also to be careful with micromanagement, not too much, right? I mean, do you have like a fit saying like, hey, I know you can do that, but at one point you need to let your leadership work the situations.
Sure. Some of us, depending on our personality,
Mm-hmm.
depending on our experiences, depending on a lot of things. The micromanaging piece of the pie is something that we hear from others, but we would never call ourselves
Mm-hmm.
micromanagers, right? But it's a piece of control, a piece of wanting things to happen and be executed exactly how you would do it. So it's definitely linked to control. So if I am dealing with an executive or a military member that micromanaging, they want to control because they're fearful of possibly failure or embarrassment or criticism,
Mm-hmm.
then is create a margin where there is trust of the task that you're giving someone, trust in who they are, trust in the skill set they bring, trust in the capabilities of doing what you're asking them, and create margins. So if someone that is or is trying not to be a micromanager is create a margin that you feel comfortable with. Don't touch it. Create the margin. And if it was me, it would say that manager would go, Ericka, I need this project done. These are the margins, and I need it done by. So please check on me at maybe the 50%. Like I should be at 50% done with the project at the 50% mark. Not the next day. Are you done with what I asked you to do?
Mm-hmm.
But I thought, Captain, that you gave me a month or you gave me a week,
Mm-hmm.
right? So create a margin and honor that margin and trust the individual. Otherwise, you're going to burn out people. People are going to be frustrated with you. And the first chance they get, they're going to bug out because they need to breathe. And Captain, I don't know, have you heard this comes from Dr. John C. Maxwell. Have you heard of the law of the lid?
No, no, I have not.
May I just very
Sure.
quickly
Go ahead.
share it?
Go ahead,
As
please.
as a leader, let's say from one to 10
Mm-hmm.
in leadership scale, let's say that I'm a 6. Uh, And because I have a title, because I have a position, then I'm going to have individuals underneath me that work for me. But I'm a 6 in my leadership capabilities. But uh, everyone underneath me is going to be very happy with me if in their leadership journey, they're fives, four, threes, twos, and ones, because I'm a 6.
Mm-hmm.
So they have room to breathe. What happens sometimes in trust me, in civilian world and in the military, is that we have the rank, we have the position, we are a 6, maybe we're a 3. And we get awesome individuals that are 8s and 9s working for us. And what happened? This is where the lid comes in. You are the lid because of that leadership capability or lack of. So if I'm a 6 and I have an 8 or a 9 working for me, they're gonna hit that lid, hit it. And I'm gonna be, as a leader, I'm gonna be frustrated because, like, who are these people? Do they not know that I am in charge? So if I am an immature leader, what I'm gonna do to those 8s, 7s, 9s that are working for me, instead of being grateful that I have great talent, I am going to push them down and push because I have the authority, I have the control, I have the rank, and I'm going to push them down, and I'm going to remind them that they need to be 5s, not 8s, 5s, because I'm not aware that I am the lid. I'm not aware that I am the one that needs to keep growing, or I need to lift them up so they bypass me so they can find a 10 they can work for.
Right. No, it makes totally sense the way you frame it, because like I think we can see that throughout the military, and sometimes like later get frustrated because like you have those 8, 10 level leadership working under a 5 or 6. And I think sometimes what happens is like those leaders that are 6, they'll get do not get groomed to be like 8 or 10s, and they stayed on 6 until somebody wakes you up saying like, hey, knock knock, you think in your mind you might be a 10, but you're actually a 6. And
Yes.
that's part maybe it's part of the reason sometimes like having those frictions in throughout the leaderships. It makes perfect sense the way you put it.
Of course, and that's where, if those individuals again, I mean, if I was a 6 out of 10 leader, and that's the best I could do, then that's the best I
That's
can
it.
do. But I am not going to be the destroyer of good talent,
Right.
right? I'm going to let those 7s, 8s, 9s, maybe 10s bypass me so I can go, man, I was part of their journey, right? But if you're an immature leader and you're a 6, sometimes literally, right? You think you're a 10, but no, my friend, you might be a 3, and
Right.
you're really destroying lives,
Wow.
right? But you need to, the minute you gain awareness and the minute you go, oh my goodness, I did not know. I mean, a good person, a good leader, the minute they realize that they're hurting people without even realizing, they'll back away, they'll learn, they'll grow, and then they'll readjust. A selfish, immature leader that is unwilling to grow will continue to use that positional leadership to hold on for their life to a rank or a title.
Yes, there we go. Yeah, I think the audience will grasp a lot of knowledge out of this, couple minutes, and how you explain it, how you frame it, and knowledge is power, right? So the more you know, I appreciate it to share that with us and the audience. I have a question. So also you also have been recognized by the Congress for exceptional leadership and community service. What does giving back mean to you? I know you mentioned it briefly multiple times throughout the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, being recognized by Congress, again, is the miracle, right? Because sometimes life hits you pretty hard and you're like, what the heck over? And then everything just, all the pieces, oh, I mean, good, bad, or ugly, all the pieces of your life just start falling, and they start falling into place, and they make this picture, and you're like, whoa, awesome, right? So for me, as an immigrant, as a female, as a Hispanic, I would like to say submissive, but maybe in uniform, not so submissive. Uh, Being recognized by Congress, and for Congress to highlight that I am an immigrant, highlight my law enforcement, highlight the military, and for them to Congress, right? For them to say thank you for your journey in helping the United States. And for that to be a congressional record, and
Mhm.
for me now to be part of the United States history, that's like,
That's
yeah,
amazing. Hmm.
right?
Yes.
So, but going back to your question, and that is about helping people. Now, your journey, my journey is what we were talking about. You just have to get up. You don't fail unless you stop trying, right? So you get up, and you attain what you are looking for. So in life, you have little milestones, and you just break them, and you're like, yes, yes, yes. So you find little pieces, not the whole journey, but little pieces of success. And you get to a point where you can say, I'm successful. Mm? But that's not enough. You being successful is not enough. So when I learned this, it was like magic, because you finding success, awesome, but you being significant in someone else's life. Now you need to showcase a little bit of success in order for you to be significant in someone else's life. But that doesn't have a price, my friend. Being significant and helping someone else's journey does not have a price. And again, going back to Dr. Maxwell, he says, once you taste significance, success is never the same. So that's my driving force now.
No, most definitely. And again, that's amazing that you've been recognized by Congress. I mean, not many people can actually get to that level. And again, that's pretty amazing to hear from you that happened. Um, Ericka, we are to the end of the podcast. But before we wrap up, I want to do a quick exercise with you. Let's do a rapid fire round to give our listeners some fast insight from you. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a question, and then you can actually have a fast response based on the question. So my first question for you is one book that changed your perspective on leadership.
The 15 invaluable laws of growth.
Okay. And do you want to span or you want to go to the next one? It's like two questions.
Yeah,
You can
it's
span.
again by Dr. John C. Maxwell. That
Hmm.
was the first true outside of the military leadership book that I read that touched my heart, changed my life. And it was the book that drove me to becoming an accredited coach and a speaker outside of the uniform of law enforcement and the uniform of the Air Force.
Okay. The next question I have a mantra or a quote you live by.
My present conditions do not dictate my future.
Okay. And then what's next for Ericka? And that's it for the quick question. So what's next for Ericka Kelly Enterprise? Do you want to speak on any of the books that would you recommend? I'm here on in your company. You have interesting books like Take Charge of Your Military Transition. And I think that's something that's like you mentioned before, when we get to that level, we're about to retire. We don't know what's next after we hung out the uniform. Can you provide a quick overview on your books and what they can find in your in Kelly Enterprises?
Yes, of course. Thank you, sir. In 2024, I decided to concentrate on my military family. And presently, I have a once a month, an hour military leadership conversations, complimentary to anybody that wants to come in. And those conversations can go from I'm new in the military to I'm separating from the military to I hate the military to I love the military. So all branches. So that's available for everyone. I also wrote that book that you just mentioned. Thank you, sir. The Take Charge of Your Military Transition. And in that book, I concentrate not on a bunch of websites, everyone. Sometimes we go through TAP and they just say, oh, they can help you, go here, go here. No, we have to, in order to transition into anything, we have to change our mindset. We have to change how we see ourselves, the value we see ourselves, and honor the uniform, but don't let the uniform be a something that we hold on to, and because we're holding on to it so tightly, we can't let go and have a different chapter in our lives. The military, forgive me for saying this, for those that are holding on to the military very tightly, the military is transitional. The uniform comes off, and we need to be strong enough to enjoy that chapter and move into the next chapter.
Great to hear, Ericka. Well, Ericka, appreciate it for the time, for being here on the ANSO Podcast. I'm truly honored to have you here again. Any last words before we actually close our podcast for tonight?
Believe in yourself. Don't stop. There's no finish line. There is no how long do I have to do this. I wonder how far I can go, because there's no finish line. And there's also no competition. Your journey is yours.
Thank you, Ericka. That's a great words to hear. And I'm going to close now here for my audience. Ericka, thank you so much again for joining us here at the ANSO Podcast. Your story is a testament to resilience, leadership, and the power of giving back. For those listening, make sure to follow Ericka Kelly Enterprise on social media and visit her website at erickakellyenterprise.com for more insights and resources. And remember, leadership is about impact, and it starts with you. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and share this podcast with others who needs a dose of inspiration today. Until next time, I'm Captain Mercado, reminding you to lead with purpose and passion. See you on the next episode of the ANSO Podcast. Let's go, mi gente. We'll see you.